About a month ago, I thought, if I could try and get all the candidates in who are running in primaries over the next several weeks on the show, that would be a Herculean sort of task. But we're doing a pretty good job of seeing various candidates drop by our studios running for a political office. We've got a lot of Republican primaries coming up on May 17th. 7 minutes after 9 o'clock, Bill Colley with you on Top Story this morning on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and NewsRadio1310.com. And we're joined in the studio during this segment of the program by Roy Prescott. He is a challenger for Jerome County Commissioner. We were just having that conversation about the differences between the two counties. One river between them, and yet very distinct sort of cultures sometimes between the two. First of all, welcome to our show.
Well, thank you, Bill, and thank you for the invitation. It's a great opportunity and a great venue.
Now, you are this as a challenger in any of these contests. It's an uphill battle because the other people already have that what they call power of incumbency and the like, and yet in a small county you can do this because you can also be just as well known, I think, in the public mind. Because it's not like you're living among hundreds of thousands of people, right?
Yes, and there's no question that small communities have that as an asset if you're talking about particularly those that are challenging, those incumbents. Jerome County fits that mold very, very well.
Are you a native of Jerome County?
I am. A little background. I was born and raised in Jerome. I've been involved with a lot of things over time. I mean, I actually served as chairman of the Jerome County Commission 6 out of 6 years back a number of years ago. So we're involved with that. In the community, we've been involved with a lot of things. I'm the oldest standing member of the Community Action Partnership in the state of Idaho.
Really?
Yeah, we serve
When
lots
everyone
of
else is
boards.
what, 25, 30 years old?
Yeah, youngsters.
What's the motivation to do this again?
Oh, in part, seeing the community and what's happening right now. It's interesting as one looks around, you can always find fault. I don't care whether it's the large, the smaller, the medium-sized cities. But Jerome has some real issues associated with it. There's a study, and it's based off of the 2010 census, that Jerome County is 43rd lowest out of 44 counties when we speak of per income for family. The city of Jerome, out of 205 cities, the per capita family income is at 165 out of 205. Those issues bother me. If we look as we drive through Jerome, and I hear it's been a couple of years ago, I had a daughter that came out of Chicago, hadn't been in Jerome for 4 or 5 years, drove through, made the comment. She said, "My gosh, what's happening to the main street?" And if you look at Jerome, if you look at Eden, you look at Hazelton, some major issues. Better than 35% of the main street of those three communities are vacant, and those are issues that have to be addressed. The Standing County Commission have some real issues that bother me. One, having understanding what county commissions are for. You've got some internal problems between the three county commissioners. In fact, quite literally, the county commission in Jerome, Idaho today is a committee of two, and that's unacceptable. I think that we bring to the table a lot of history. I've been involved with business over a long period of time. I've had businesses that had lots of volume. We talk of number of employees. It was long-term health that I had. Chairman of the board, some skilled nursing facilities in California. One of the facilities was a union. And it's interesting when you get into that kind of a dialogue as compared without working with cattle and cowboys. My base operation is livestock. I'm a farmer rancher east of Jerome, have been all my life. But I think that, in fact, I'm running, challenging what's going on right now. If people are interested and they're satisfied with what Jerome is and how it looks, the prosperity that is either there or not, status quo works fine. If they're not, we need to make some changes, and that's what that's what we're representing.
I know that when I drive through there, I look at the buildings and I think, okay, everything's still structurally sound. And anywhere in Jerome County, you look at that and you say, all right, what we really need is just a good coat of paint and things will be okay. But obviously, it's affording the good coat of paint or finding someone to come in there and do that. That's where the problem is. You're seeing just the tip of the iceberg. Obviously, there are bigger issues beneath that. How do you attract that revenue, that economy that is going to turn all this around?
You know, it's interesting. We talk about the values of South Central Idaho, the interstate that goes through. And when you really sit down and evaluate that, you've got dozens of small communities, middle-sized communities that all have those same values. Character associated with history, a workforce that get up every morning. They're serious about going and doing a good job. They take pride in what they do. You talk about the communities that are associated with the interstate, the railroad. You have lots of those to compete with. You have to get to a point, and Jerome has to get recognized that Twin Falls, and there's no question that they're that economic hub of this 8-county region. You have the northern county, Blaine County, and there's just the tourist side of it. Uh, the rest are not as fortunate, and it's not because of their location, of their people. It's the fact that in some way, and it's been over a history of time, Twin Falls have been very, very successful at not only retaining but also adding new business to Twin Falls. I'm absolutely convinced that if the rest of these counties, these communities are going to be successful, they've got to recognize their strengths. They recognize the Twin Falls and the Blaine County, and they have to have someone that comes in and puts the leadership that they coordinate the effort on the retention and the development of, because all of them have a role for it. We have that same piece of property. We draw from the same wellheads, those kind of issues. We've got to do a better job in Jerome at the coordinating. And right now, I don't see that leadership that's in place that coordinates the cities, the county, the counties, the coordinated effort that's associated. There's certain things in Lincoln County that Jerome does not have, i.e. a main route with the Union Pacific, the space in the downtown. And what benefits Jerome can benefit not only the Twin Falls and the Burleys and the Ruperts, but it also benefits the Goodings and the Lincoln counties.
We want to point out Roy Prescott. Prescott is our guest during this segment of the program, coming up on 9:14, and I'm straining through my bifocals here. It's 45. Okay, I've got that. We have a telephone call. If you don't mind, we'll take a telephone caller.
Would love to.
And let's see if we can get the caller on the air with us. You're on the air with a candidate. Good morning.
Yes, I had a question for the candidate here. I grew up in Jerome. Years ago, there was an intent to build an airport out by Highway 93 and 84 in Jerome County. Twin Falls County had a fit because they thought they were the big dog, and we still have an airport out here that doesn't get used. Drive out there any day and just see how many people are out there. It's truly a joke, and it's a sorry shame, because if this airport was located in a place where it mattered, it could really have great growth impact for the Magic Valley. And it's just been a bad issue. I don't know that there's anything you can do, but I was just curious about your thoughts. Thanks.
I think that there's no question about the value. And if one goes back and reviews that process that was going on at the time, and it happened that I was a chairman of the Jerome County Planning and Zoning at that time. So it goes back. That starts to show one's age. But interesting, you had Jerome and you had the valley looking at a regional airport. It was identified out to what was then a fairly new interstate out along 93. Logistically, it had a great deal of advantage. It wasn't just the Jerome or the Twin Falls County, but it went into the Minidoka, the Blaine. And historic-wise, you look Blaine County, the issues they've had with that airport there in Haley, how they had it, they imagined that they had a new site for it, and issues arose that it's still in Haley. Twin Falls, its location, the wind and some of those things make from time to time, it's impossible to get in and out of that. There's no question that it should at some point be reviewed. The reality of that situation right now is FAA has put a lot of money into Twin Falls. They put a lot of money into the Haleys. It would have to be a coordinated effort from the entire 8-county region to say that there's a better location. And it just brings up the point that if you don't ask, you will never get questions on why it isn't happening.
I posed a question to when Mike Damer was here the other day. When you look at the development in a place like Twin Falls, a lot of it is along that canyon rim, but on the Jerome side, you can't do that. And I realize that they like to preserve some of that, but couldn't we ask someone in state and federal government if they could relax that a little bit, so that if there was some development there that you could work on, because it's such a stark contrast to sit on one side of that canyon and look across and see the difference.
there's no question about the open space that the north side of the canyon has in relationship to looking to the south side. And interesting enough, and I don't know if you're aware, Bill, the corridor, once you cross the Prime Bridge going north, on the east side, that's all state lands. And under state, and it's the mandatory constitutional when you talk about those lands, highest and best use, they have, and I don't believe there's been any kind of follow-up on it, on that corridor that goes to the north, and the best of both worlds. The state of Idaho needs to be prompted to evaluate to see if there isn't something in that corridor that you could bring in and say we could develop it. The side that says, yeah, we're going to still keep that unique, the Wagamot Trail, Oregon Trail mentality, the view of that canyon, which we that have lived here and been born here just take for granted, but the rest of the world that comes by are amazed at what we have there. Mm-hmm. You move off and you've got another 10,000 acres that can be maintained, developing on what the real attitude. When we were county commissioner, I was responsible for the onset of what that public purpose lease that the county has with the Bureau of Land Management, and some of the things that were looked at that point in time. We talked to the National Cattlemen about a piece that would highlight what livestock do for fire and whatever at the prevention side of it. We had interesting groups. We talked to the Pew Charitable Trust, and their interest was that if we could come up with matching funds, and then we talked to Nike, talking to them about a Nike trail along the canyon rim, and that's for those that wanted to bike and walk and run. Outside of that, you had the Idaho Horse Association that were interested in a kiosk that they could go out and ride in that open space, have kiosks to tie down, break out their lunch, that kind of thing. We've never had the follow-up on that. Jerome County has a working committee right now, and I'm not certain how aggressive they are at an overall view. There's some property, it's Devil's Trail, that sits on the east end of it, which isolated and getting there and in and out of it, the public has got to be aware of the costs associated with that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Part of and it's again why we're looking to run for the office and the position itself, is the fact that those kind of issues have not been addressed specifically where they should be.
Quickly, before we wrap up, Roy Prescott in studio with us, and of course he's running for county commission in Jerome County. If there's their contact information for your campaign that you could pass along?
It's just my email address is royprescott@hotmail.com.
You must have been one of the earliest signees because it's a fairly common name, and to get that without having to put 1 or 10 or 20 behind it.
I qualify because of my age. You'll understand and appreciate that in another 20 years.
We wish you good luck. In fact, I'll see you Saturday morning.
Thank you, Bill. We appreciate your time.
All right, take care. It's coming up on 20 minutes after 9 o'clock. We still have 45. Bill Colley with you as well on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and News Radio 1310.com.